I'll really have to cut back a lot to make that happen. We're delighted to have Aliye Shimi with us this morning. Aliye is the executive director of the Tulsa Metropolitan Ministry. Aliye was with us about a year ago and gave us an update, and now is going to provide, I think, some very interesting information. I wanted to take just a moment here because maybe some of you are not terribly familiar with the story or the history of what is now the Tulsa Metropolitan Ministry. It began in 1937 as the Tulsa Council of Churches. And at that point in time, it was limited exclusively to Protestant congregations here in the city of Tulsa. Within the course, I think in the 50s, it became the first ecumenical organization in the country that accepted Catholic persons into the ministry as members of the organization. A few years later, it extended invitation to the Jewish community also. And so it has been a leader in terms of making it a truly ecumenical organization over the years. Harvard Avenue Christian Church has been an active supporter of TMM for many, many years now. Reverend Bob Peake, many of us recall, was a great member of the board of directors, and the church has been a very active supporter. But it has played a unique role in Tulsa in terms of bringing together the religious community to address social issues, social concerns, religious freedoms, and so forth. It's been a very meaningful organization. It has developed a number of the organizations we see around the community now, the way TMM has, when it was Tulsa Council of Churches, and then TMM has worked, is to develop responses to a need. Daycare Center for the Homeless being one of them, many others that we've done, Meals on Wheels. Once it reaches a viable position, then TMM spins it off. In other words, it becomes an independent entity. So TMM has been the starting point for almost all of the, or very many, I should say, of the really meaningful support organizations here in the city of Tulsa. One last quick thing to say, this past year, we started the foundation started a grant program to religious organizations here in the city that made application for taking actions that would be environmentally helpful to the church itself, the organization, and do something that is good for our community at large. And we made a grant application here at Harvard Avenue, and all of the lighting that you see out in the conference area out here was the result of that, putting in all LED lighting. It provides significant financial actually decline in cost, as well as eliminating a good amount of carbon dioxide into the atmosphere. We have just been approved by the board on an application we made where we are going to do all of the exterior lights now. The area over the drive-through there and along the wall, and then coming into the garden also on that side. The way we did this one this year was a $3,000 grant, and then Harvard Avenue matched $1,000 of that. So for $4,000, we were able to take this step, and I think it's going to be one that will be meaningful. Again, we looked at it, and the projection on just the dollar numbers were around $800 to $850 in savings a year by doing this and putting this in. So TMM has made a real contribution to us, continues to do so. And we're just delighted today to have Aliye Shimi here to speak to us. Aliye served on the board as an acting executive director in 2017, I believe it was. And then in 2018, she took over as the executive director of TMM, and literally is one of the most capable and dynamic, energetic, wonderful people I've ever met in my life. And it's a delight to have Aliye Shimi here.
Thank you all. Buzz is always so gracious. You know, I hope I live up to all of those expectations of Buzz. Good morning, and thank you so very much for having me here again. I always tell everybody Harvard Avenue is like a second home. I'm still in contact with Mark, Riley, and with Courtney, and so they all send their regards and their love to you all, as I told them that I was going to be here this morning. Buzz and Jim asked me to come by and just give you a little bit of the updates of some of the programming that we're doing at TMM. As Buzz mentioned, through the years, TMM has this wonderful history of starting organizations like the Day Center for the Homeless, Youth Services of Tulsa, Meals on Wheels, RSVP, Life Senior Services, the Tulsa Mental Health Association, and so on and so forth. So we are trying to continue that tradition. I believe I spoke to you last time and we were talking about our flagship program about starting a facility for sexually trafficked juveniles here in Tulsa. I'm happy to announce that we are now through phase 1 of our rezoning project for our facility. We just completed the survey, our land survey, on Friday. So it will be located in the city of Bixby. It will still be Tulsa County, but we will be the only facility in the entire state of Oklahoma that takes in all juveniles. We have one facility that is DHS certified and licensed and contracted in the state of Oklahoma. Only one, and that takes 8 girls a year. They only have 8 beds. And so we will have 16 beds per DHS guidelines. We can only have 16 beds in each facility. But we will be taking in boys, girls, LGBTQ, trans youth. So we will be the only one in the state to be able to do that. And we've already had wonderful conversations with DHS. So we will be the second facility that will be DHS certified, licensed, and contracted. So we're doing wonderfully there. We're hoping to break ground either by the end of this year or by the beginning of next year. And construction will hopefully be about a year on the facility. So we'll be able to start taking in and treating clients within that population. Just to give you an update, or just to give you kind of an idea, Oklahoma is kind of unique because the trafficking that goes on here, the human trafficking that goes on, particularly with juveniles, 75% of that trafficking goes on within their families. So it's familial trafficking. It's their fathers, their mothers, their brothers, their uncles, their cousins that are trafficking these children. So that is very different than what we see in California or in Texas or in some other states. And so regularly, almost once a month, I'm at different conferences and we do different trainings. And so we're up to date with all of the, responses and all of the clients that come through here, whether they're coming through the school system, whether they're coming through the hospitals, whether they're coming through law enforcement. We're still able to give them services. We're still able to get them connected and try to keep them safe. But we will be very happy once we're able to break ground and get our facility completed. So I just wanted to give you that update with regards to our project. Yes, ma'am. No, please go right ahead. Absolutely. I couldn't tell you. It's just what we're seeing. When we were in May, last May, when I was in San Diego, we were visiting a facility there, and a 13-year-old young lady right here from Tulsa, Oklahoma, was flown in to San Diego to be receiving her treatment, and she was being trafficked by her father. And so, it's very heartbreaking when we see these situations. We had a young lady that came through the Family Safety Center, and so this is going to sound horrible, but the father of this young lady is also her grandfather and great-grandfather, if that makes sense to you. So the male that was the perpetrator had kidnapped a young lady, and this young lady is now the grandmother, had a daughter and 2 boys, had raped and done all sorts of horrible things to his daughter as well, had a child, a daughter and 3 boys from her, and then perpetuated with the granddaughter as well. And the granddaughter that came in was 11. So all 3 women, 3 generations of women had come in through the Family Safety Center. And our chaplain was able to help them. So we have a chaplain that's embedded, a multi-faith chaplain that's embedded at the Family Safety Center as well. And that was just one case right here in Tulsa, Oklahoma. And of course, you guys don't hear about this on the news. He was just a very, very, very sick man. In this situation, all 3 women, the grandmother, the mother, and the daughter, were being able to be removed, and he was arrested, and he will be serving multiple life sentences. So luckily, they're away from the perpetrator. In this situation, it was well enough that the perpetrator was taken away, and it was isolated to the family. But when they have families of traffickers, we are dealing with another case currently. This young lady befriended a guy from Facebook, thinking it was going to be her boyfriend. The boyfriend started trafficking her, trafficked her from here to California to Canada on back. When they came back, the family was living in Owasso. The mother ran outside to grab her daughter from the car to get her away from them. They started beating the mother. The father went outside. A fight broke out. The father pulled his gun and shot one of the traffickers. He died on the scene, and then the cousin got out of the car, continued to beat him. He was arrested, and he's serving life now for murder, unfortunately, even though it's a self-defense issue. The young lady who was under the influence of drugs went on with the boyfriend's family. Then the boyfriend's father and uncle continued to traffic her for 3 more years. Luckily, we've been able to, now this all happened in 2019. We've been able to get her into treatment here. She's back in Tulsa. She's in a safe place. She's an adult now, and we've been able to get her some services here. But it's a very, very sad situation. So it's very, very unfortunate. I know that, for most of us, this is not a reality for us, so we don't see that. But, for those people like myself who are service providers and we're able to see these families, it's very heartbreaking. So I'm grateful that all of our faith communities will be able to help in this great work that we're doing. So absolutely. And I don't want to make it a somber Sunday. So it is a reality. So we'll move on to some of our more exciting and upbeat projects that we have going on. So as we know, food insecurities has been a major issue, and it has been an ongoing issue, not only in our city, but in many cities. And so last year, I partnered up with a young man who had a very innovative idea, and he had been traveling over in different countries and working with farmers to try and decrease the middleman who was taking so much of the money from the farmers, and to be able to get fresh, organic food to the table of individuals. And so we started working on thinking what we can do to help with food insecurities in our community. So we came up with an idea called the Bazaar. And what the Bazaar is, it will be a frictionless grocery store. So essentially, it will be like the size of a Quick Trip, but it will be unmanned. It will be like a gigantic vending machine. And so what will happen is people in that community will either have an app on their phone or they'll have a membership card, and this is children and adults. They scan it, and they're able to upload all of their SNAP benefits, all of their food stamp benefits, and any money they want on there. So it's a cashless exchange. They'll be able to scan it. They'll be able to enter, and they'll be able to, push whatever buttons they need to vend whatever food they need out of the vending machines. That includes all of our fresh fruit and produce and meat and chicken and things like that. And then it'll be deducted from their account, and it will be 24/7. They'll be open 24/7. It'll all be weighed and scaled, and all of those good things, and hence the vending machines. We don't have to worry about theft. We don't have to worry about any of those things. Community can pay it forward on people's accounts, so you can pass by and you can, upload money into individuals' accounts, or you can do it off of the app, and the young man has developed this app. We've partnered with Microsoft to be able to do this app and working forward, and we've partnered with Tesla, so we're going to have Tesla solar banks on top of the building. It will be a clear glass building, and we're working with we'll have containers, and we've already worked with our city, so we are partnering with District 3 with Krista Patrick and District 3, Councilwoman Krista Patrick. The city has already approved it, and they're giving us $200,000 to break ground, and we have up to $1 million to be able to do the construction of this grocery store, and we're hoping to have multiples of these. And it'll be for the community, for within that 2-3 mile community, because we're looking at Pine and Yale is the area that will be located. It'll be just a block east of Yale on Pine will be the first pilot one, and we've already spoken to multiple other city councilors who want them in their district. They had a community hall meeting with their community members, and it was unanimously agreed upon. So we're hoping to break ground within the next few months, so you'll be hearing that in the media as well. And hopefully we'll have multiples of these throughout the city and then on through to other states as well. So the other part of this project that I failed to mention to you is outside there will be hot vending machines outside of the store, just right in front. And so children will be able to come through and get free hot meals. After school, before school, on the weekends. We know that a lot of kids most of the time when they're living in food insecure homes. The only time that they eat is when they're in school, when they get their breakfast and lunch, and sometimes in after school programs. So this way they'll be able to receive free meals from those vending machines as well. And we'll be partnering with local area restaurants to be able to provide those hot meals in the hot vending machines outside. So that is our Bazaar project. It's called the Food Insecurities Bazaar Project. So we're very, very excited about that project. Any questions about that project? Yes, ma'am. The vending machine will be a hot oven. It will be like a hot oven vending machine. So that's what's going to keep them hot. And we've already partnered with multiple restaurants who are willing to donate 20 to 50 meals a day to be able to stock those meals. So we'll have, it's a large collaboration project. We love collaboration at TMM. So we'll be able to collaborate with all of our food vendors to be able to stock those meals, and they'll be able to vend that way. Yes, ma'am. So we will be partnering with the food bank as well to be able to help stock, and we're also trying to integrate all of our local farmers here. So the land that we're looking at, the gentleman that owns that land, he also owns the railways that go through, and he has storage facility. He has cold and hot storage facility as well. So it's a win-win for everybody. He'll be able to help transport the food in. We'll be able to store it just right nearby the store, and we'll be able to then help restock as well. And we'll be able to employ people from the community to help with that restocking system. So we've been working on this concept for about 8 months. So myself and a few other people on our team. And so, no, he saw this concept. So if you've traveled in airports, you've seen frictionless areas. And I believe we have one, the BOK, Quick Trip has a small one in the BOK, right? So you can go in, it's unmanned, you can pick up whatever and pay for it and walk out. And so it's kind of similar concept, but this way we're able to put large machines, and I wish I brought the mock-ups, I'll bring them next time, but it's about the size of a Quick Trip. So, you can go in, you can get your grains. The grains will be in silos. You can get, all of your fresh fruits and vegetables. You can get all of your, your poultry, your meats, everything from the butcher area, and you'll be able to get any of your canned items and whatever else you need. And we're going to try and make sure that they're sustainable and that we're working locally to be locally sourced and as organic as possible. So, yes, ma'am. We haven't traveled that far yet. Yes, so her question was, are we looking at the south area? So we decided to start with District 3, where we have food deserts. We're starting in the food desert areas. And yes, and so we will start there. That will be our pilot. Kathy Taylor wanted one on TU's campus as well for some of the students. So that'll be kind of our second location. But we're speaking with Vanessa Hall Harper and several of our other city council members to help eliminate food deserts. Because if you go to Pine and Yale area, there's not a grocery store for a few miles, right? They have a Dollar General, and they have a rundown convenience store. That is their source of food. There's 2 schools and 1 library located right there on either side of Yale. And so we have all these children and these community members, some of whom don't drive. And so to be able to get good, sustainable, nutritious food, it's very difficult. So for us to be able to put this there, they can walk to it after school, they can walk to it from the library, they can walk to it, from their homes, and they'll just, either scan their card, just like a Sam's card or a Costco card, or they'll, scan it from their phone. And we're hoping to develop the app to where you'll be able to put all of your health indicators in the app later on. And so it'll make suggestions for you. If you're diabetic, if you have heart disease, if you have any of these things, we're hoping to develop the app to where later on it'll start making suggestions for you so it can start preparing a shopping list for you. So that way you'll be able to receive the food that's going to help you with your health as well. But that's in the later part of this project. Right now we want to be able to get the food to the table of all of our community members who are having this fight on food insecurities. So that's our second large project that we're working on currently. Yes, sir. I'm sorry? Oh, it'll be open 24/7. That's why it's frictionless. So it will be manned with cameras, and it'll have sensors all throughout. And because it's like a giant vending machine, all you have to do is just scan your card or scan your app on your phone. The doors open, you go in, and you get whatever you need, and you're able to step out, and you don't have to worry about it. So it will be open 24/7. We know we have several people who work, at night and are trying to sleep during the day and whatnot. So people shop at all different hours. So we're trying to make it as convenient as possible. We're trying to reduce as many roadblocks as possible. So, yes, ma'am. So we will, when we announce the project and once our project is built, and hopefully it'll be built fairly soon, they'll be able to come and register right there at the place, right at the store, and we'll be assigning those cards. So we'll have a card making machine, and we'll be able to give those out right there at the store. So, and we'll have a big campaign at the beginning. Yes. No, each individual has to have their own card. Because most individuals have to upload their own SNAP benefits, their own individual SNAP benefits. And so each individual will be able to have their own, unless if it's a family, of course, with young children. But we want to make sure that children have their own cards as well, because we want them to be able to access food outside. You know, if mother and father is working or whatever is going on in their home, we want children to be able to come and scan and get their meals for free that they need throughout the day. So we'll make sure, yes. So our concerns about security, I mean, there's always going to be a concern about security. Within the building process, we're going to make sure we have bulletproof glass and all of these other things. But it's going to be cashless, so that's number one. There is no cash exchange. There will be zero cash on the premises. So that's number one. Number two, everything is going to be in a vending machine. So unless if you're planning on wrecking the entire facility, which is going to be very difficult to do since it's going to be, still framed, it's going to be pretty hard to rip out a gigantic vending machine out of the wall. And these are not your regular snack vending machines. These are going to be custom built vending machines that will be coming to this. So that will be a wall of vending machines over here, a wall of vending machines over there. They'll be refrigerated, ventilated, heated vending machines. And so, with the exception of if somebody's exiting the building, if somebody's being robbed as they're exiting the building for food, that is kind of the only thing that we can think of. And of course we have cameras, and we're going to do our best to stay connected to law enforcement and see what the response time is. But that's about the only thing that we can think of as of right now. If you all have any ideas, please let me know. Yes, ma'am.
What would prevent somebody from taking the food and then reselling it to someone?
There's nothing that we can do about that, unfortunately. If that food has, been taken, they've paid for it, they have to pay for it, because otherwise they're not going to be able to take it, because it's going to be vended out of a machine and it's coming out of their account. They scan and then they vend out of the machine. So they're paying for that. Now, if they upsell it, if they upcharge and they upsell it, there's nothing we can do about that. As long as they're not doing it on the premises. If they're doing it on the premises, then yes, we will definitely prosecute. But as long as it's not happening on the premises. Yes, sir. So that's a question for our Microsoft team, and they're going to do large servers to be able to do that. But that will be the second part of the project with regards to the medical, since that will be all HIPAA and all of that will have to be worked out. But the database will be the basic information, their economic information. We have to know where your status is in order to be able to receive those SNAP benefits. But those will be things that they'll already receive from the government, and they'll just upload into the app, just like you would like a Cash App, essentially like a Cash App. And so, but it will be cloud-based storage currently for the storage of the money, the finances. Cloud-based, it'll be cloud-based. Yes. 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 Okay, I'm so sorry. Yes, the question was, how are we going to store all that information? Because we'll be storing, later on, we'll be storing medical information and personal information. And currently, it will be cloud-based. It'll be cloud-based servers. So, any other questions about this food project? Yes, yeah, they could put a certain amount of money, or like I said, or they can upload all of their SNAP benefits that they receive. And I don't know if some of you know, but when they receive fresh fruits and vegetables, they're able to get twice the amount with SNAP benefits. So if they receive, say, $50 in SNAP benefits, if they're receiving fresh fruits and vegetables, they're able to buy $100 worth of fresh fruits and vegetables. So that's also, we're trying to push for them to be able to get those fresh fruits and vegetables to, fresh produce to the table So, yes. We haven't worked that out yet. We're thinking probably 5 or 6. You know, if they're walking back and forth from school, if they're able to access, you know, we've been in areas, believe it or not, where we see young ones by themselves, and we've been called out and I liaise with law enforcement, so I've been called out on different issues, and we have seen 5 and 6-year-olds on their own. And you ask, where's your parents? Well, they haven't been by in 48 hours. We don't know. We haven't seen mom in 2 days. We haven't seen dad in, you know, so many days. And so it is heartbreaking. And so we're going to try and do our best to help alleviate that. So that's our project number 2 that we've been working on for the past year. Project number 3. So at 36th Street North and Highway 75, you know that Tulsa Police Department has the Gilcrease Division is located right there. Between their property and New Jerusalem Baptist Church, which is located right there, there used to be a park. It used to be a Tulsa City Park called Amos T. Hall Park. About 20 years ago, it was decommissioned. They had a large gym, they had a swimming pool, they had a splash pad, and they had playground equipment. It was decommissioned about 20 years ago. About 3-4 years ago, New Jerusalem Baptist Church gave quite a bit of its land to Habitat for Humanity, and they built 10 homes on that land, and they have about 35 kids in those 10 homes. Then they sold off another portion of their land to a developer, and they have about 40 more children in this new area that's right on the other side of it. And their church has a little over 60 or 70 children in their area. So, you know, if you could do that math, that's a little over 100 children who don't have a park. The closest park is about 5 to 7 miles away. To New Jerusalem Baptist. And when the park was decommissioned, the city gave that property to TPD, and TPD has been using the gym, which is dilapidated and full of asbestos and needs to be wrecked anyways, and they're storing evidence in the gym. But the playground equipment has been ripped out, the pool has been sealed off and closed off. Their pastor, Pastor Sean Jarrett, and some of their members have been trying to talk with city members to see if they can get that park and reconstitute it as either a city park or have the community reconstituted as a park, and it had fallen on deaf ears. So they reached out to us. I spoke with law enforcement, got the yes from city legal, got the yes from the parks department, and lo and behold, we're gonna have a park there again. And so with some private donations, we are hoping to reconstitute the park as Amos T. Hall Park, and it will be rebuilt by TMM and our community members. And we will be putting the new playground equipment in. Or hopefully within the next 3 months, we'll be breaking ground to put the new playground equipment in. We'll seal off the pool, and everything else will be sealed off, so they'll have safe playground equipment to play with. And we're in talks with the police department to see if we can get that all of that evidence removed and put someplace else, so we can demolish that building and build a brand new community center. So that's phase 2 of the project that we'll be working on. So within the next few months, you'll hear about us breaking ground with that park project as well. So that community will have a brand new park that all these children and families will be able to enjoy. So those are the 3 big projects that I've been working on for the past 8 months to a year, along with all the other small projects that we've been working on. But those are just some of the updates. As Buzz mentioned, our eco-friendly grants that they were so graciously started by our foundation. Thank you so very much, Mr. Boswell and Mr. McDaniel. And so this year we have 9 that we've approved, 9 congregations that we approved that will be doing eco-friendly work around their congregations to reduce their carbon footprint and to be more environmentally friendly. So with all of your support, we've been able to do this work, and we really, really, truly appreciate it. Any other questions for me? Yes, sir. Cost on the park is about $175,000. So that's all, yes, and it will be all private funded. So this will be all private funding that TMM will be raising to be able to get that park. And we've raised most of the funds for it. So hopefully, Mr. McDaniel asked what the cost on the park was. So it's going to be about $175,000 to be able to rip out all the old equipment, fix whatever landscaping we need to fix, and to be able to put the new playground equipment in. Yes, ma'am. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I wonder. That would be a conversation to be had. because there's several areas that really need playground equipment, you know, and playground equipment is not cheap. Let me tell you, I have been shopping around for the past 3-4 months. She said, wonderful young lady up at the front said that Grimes School has been vacant and they have wonderful playground equipment. And it's worth exploring to see if we can take that playground equipment and reconstitute it someplace else. So that would be a TPS question, I guess, since TPS owns that area. Yes, sir. Mm-hmm. The gentleman in the back is saying that they do use the equipment at Grimes. I don't know which community. I'm assuming the community around here probably uses that equipment at Grimes. I'm not. Yeah, it's worth having a conversation. Sure. Any other questions for me? Yes, ma'am. So the MOU that the memorandum of understanding that we've put into place with the city is because it is still technically TPD's property, they will be doing all the maintenance. They will continue doing the mowing and the hedging and all of those things. So, and I'm in talks with Anna America, who's the head of our parks division, to see if we need maintenance to the equipment who will be doing that. But we're trying to make it a unique partnership between the city of Tulsa for TPD and the Parks Division and our community members to be able to make it work. Because I don't know if they're going to be able to reconstitute it as a park, as a city park. If they were able to reconstitute it as a city park, then we don't have anything to worry about. They'd pay for everything. But unfortunately, it doesn't look like that's going to be able to work. But we're putting in MOUs to be able to work together so the city will be able to help with some of the maintenance of that. Since we're doing the heavy lift of getting the equipment and getting everything put into place, they've given us their word that they will be able to help with the maintenance. So, any other questions for us? Yes, sir. Yes. Thank you for reminding me. So I'm going to be honest. I was very skeptical at the beginning. Yes, the question was how successful. Thank you. The gentleman in the back is like, repeat the question. I know, I see his frustration. I am so sorry. The question was, how successful was our Guns to Garden Tools program? So one of our board members, who is a retired Methodist minister, she had attended a couple of these gun buyback programs in Colorado and in Kansas. And with all the gun violence that we're having here in our city, she was very disheartened, and she wanted to do something for us to be able to help with gun violence. And so she came back and she said, hey, Aliye, how can we make this work? And so we started brainstorming, trying to figure out how we can do a gun buyback program. Well, of course, we have to have law enforcement involved. We need to make sure that the guns that we're taking in weren't used, in some crime or anything like that. And we need to make sure that, they're being disposed of appropriately. And what I want everybody to hear, this is a very important part. We are not anti-gun. We are pro-gun safety. Okay? So we were handing out safes for people in this event for them to be able to lock their guns up safely for anybody that came in to be able to turn in their guns. We worked with a group of veterans who were gun experts. They were the pros, the precision rifle operators, the snipers. And so we asked them to come, and they were also blacksmiths. And so they worked with us to handle the guns as they were being driven in. I didn't think more than 5-10 people were going to show up. We had over 65 people that came, and we had 76 guns that were turned in. We picked up one AR-15 rifle that was turned in by a older lady, and we picked up a relic. I believe it was a Vietnam War relic that we picked up as they came in. So we handed out a little over $13,000 in gift cards, and so they received, $100 for a gun and $200 for a long gun. So that's your rifle, shotgun, any of those things. And we had tons of people who brought in buckets and buckets of ammo. We started the program off at 10 in the morning, and we were supposed to be done by 2. We had people already in line by 9 a.m., and there was people that were still coming by at 4 o'clock trying to dispose of their guns. And we had law enforcement right there at the table with us. They were in plain clothes, and they were running all of the serial numbers through their system to make sure that these guns were not related to any active investigations. And, it was all citizens who were just ready to get rid of some of the guns that they had. We had one lady, her husband had passed, and she brought in 3 rifles. She was the one that brought in that relic. And she also brought in the AR-15, and then and she brought in 12 handguns, and she brought in 3 big paint buckets, 5-gallon paint buckets full of ammo, and they were just too. It was just too painful for her to see all this there since her husband had just passed, and so she just wanted to get rid of them and dispose of them safely. So it was very successful, and we're looking to do the second one in October. Yes, ma'am. Yeah, absolutely. So the lady in the back said, if you have ammunition that you'd like to get rid of, the police department will come to your house and pick that up as well. So, but with our partnership with law enforcement, it worked out wonderfully. The relic, it was not touched by any means. It was turned into a museum. She wanted it to be turned into a museum, so it was turned into a museum. The guns were cut on site. So we had 3 stations set up. And so as the cars drove up, as the volunteers walked them up, the rifle operators went to the trunk of the car, removed the vehicle, made sure that removed the weapons, made sure that they were empty. And once they were empty, then they were cut in half. And then we had a ceremony in February. We had a ceremony where survivors of gun violence, whether their family members took their own lives or whether they were killed by gun violence, they were able to come, and the gunsmiths had the forge set up, and they were melting down the guns, and the survivors were able to beat the weapons that were being melted down, and they were turned into garden tools. And these garden tools were handed to the victims' families, so they could plant new seeds of hope. So we've turned these guns into garden tools, hence the title, Guns into Garden Tools. So we're planning on having 2 gun buybacks a year now. So, yes, ma'am.
Aaliyah, you're getting so much done. How large is your staff?
I love it, Linda. Linda says you're getting so much done. We try, and our staff, how large is it? So it's consisted of myself, my administrative assistant. I have a person who's in charge of communications, and we just hired a new program manager. So we're a staff of 4, and we have a multi-faith chaplain that is embedded. That was a position for 1 full-time person. I've now split that up into 2 part-time individuals. I'm hiring the first one, and we're getting ready to hire the second one on. So 6 people will be the number of our staff. I'm able to do all this amazing work because I have amazing volunteers, and my board members are just absolutely out of this world. And so they do a lot of heavy lifting with me. So we really, truly, truly appreciate it. Yes, sir. The conference I was talking about. Oh, yes. Thank you, Buzz. See, my brain is moving at a million miles an hour. In 2018, Buzz's question was, we have a conference that's coming up. Could I please update you all on that? On May the 4th, this Thursday, TMM is hosting a free training. It is from 9 in the morning till 2 in the afternoon, and it is about child abuse and child neglect within the faith communities and how our faith communities can come together to keep these children safe. And so in 2018, Dr. Kathy LaFortune and I had attended a conference, and we heard this speaker that was absolutely amazing. He has been doing prosecution for the past 26 years of child abuse cases, and predominantly these cases were through the faith communities where they were either perpetrated by the pastor or somebody in the faith community, and how a lot of the domestic violence was being condoned and the victims were being condemned in those communities. So he is leading training on how we can work against that, how we can help that situation. So it is at OU on Thursday, right here at 41st and Yale, and breakfast and lunch will be provided by TMM. Normally, it's about $800 to $1,000 to hear this gentleman speak, normally when you go to these conferences, to be able to attend these trainings. And we are doing it because TMM is paying for it, and we have partnered with Haruv Institute at Schusterman, and so it is completely free, and we are giving CEUs also, so continuing education unit credits for anybody that will be attending. If you're a social worker, if you're LPC, LSW, any of those, you'll be able to receive 4 credits as well. Every year, professionals need about 20 credits, and they pay for all of these conferences. And so this will be completely free right here in town. We have a professor who is the head of pediatrics who will be presenting at 9. Then Victor Fife, this keynote speaker, will be presenting. Dr. Kathy LaFortune will be presenting. And then service providers will be there. Everybody from the Child Abuse Network, from CAN, from the Parent-Child Center, from Parkside, all of service providers will be there to let us know, once we report, what are kind of the next steps and how we can help these families. So that's this Thursday at OU. Thank you, Buzz, for reminding me. I know I've probably babbled enough and we're coming on time. So I've got time? Okay, I thought I needed to. Yes, sir. Yes. Yes, it has. So the question was, Mr. Barnard was a part of TMM about 40 years ago, and back 40 years ago, evangelical churches and some of the conservative Christian churches weren't a part of TMM. And he's asking if that has changed. So yes, that has changed. We have 4 churches of Christ that are a part of TMM now. And ironically, I'm the only board member that serves on one of the only Muslim, non-Christian, non-Church of Christ board member that now serves on a board for them. I don't know how that worked out, but there you go. And so, yes, that has changed. Our chaplain that I just mentioned a little bit ago, she is actually an evangelical minister that I've been working with for the past 7 years, and her understanding has completely, broadened about interfaith work. And so she will be one of our multi-faith chaplains that will be embedded at TMM. I've been working with Church on the Move and many other churches to be able to do a lot of this work. When we did all of the Afghan resettlement work that we did last year and the year before, we made connections with a lot of those evangelical churches to be able to work with them. I just told Buzz that we have all the area Mormon churches just joined TMM, which wasn't the case in the past. And so, yes, we have been very interesting, very, very interesting. I remember when I told them that the First Church of Christ was going to be joining us, and one of my board members said, "Aliye, sweetheart, are you sure you don't mean United Church of Christ?" And I said, well, there's only one United Church of Christ here in Tulsa, and you're already a part of it. So no, it's not. It is a Church of Christ. He said, "Sweetheart, they don't even talk to me. How are they going to talk to you?" I said, well, here you go. So it's all about how we speak to them. So yes, so we have been opening our arms to everybody. We have pagans that are a part of TMM. So we're a part. All spiritualities are welcome to be a part of TMM. Our motto is that we don't have to believe alike to love alike, and we really truly live that. And so we're very, very grateful that we can all believe in our own individual ways, but we know at the end of the day that we have to love every human being and we need to help every human being. And that's what ties us together. And so as long as we've got that down, then we're golden, right? And so we can keep moving forward. And that's the way that we like to try and do everything that we do. So, yes, sir. Yes. Jim's question was that I have a large role in the Afghan resettlement, and he wanted me to just touch on that. So as we know, we have had a little over 1,300 Afghans relocated, our new neighbors, as we call them, located here in Tulsa. We took on the 3rd largest number in the country. Texas and California, Texas took on a little over 4,700 and California took on a little over 3,600. But when you look at our population here in Tulsa versus the population per capita in California and Texas, by far, we took on the largest per capita. And we did our work, even though it wasn't perfect, we did such a great job that President Biden sent out a delegation to Tulsa last November to see what we were doing here that was different, because everybody wanted to be resettled in Tulsa. We had several people who came in from other states who wanted to be resettled in Tulsa. We had some people here who thought the grass was greener on the other side. They wanted to leave Tulsa. They went to some other states, and very quickly they're like, no, we want to come back. And so they were able to come back, and I'm happy to say just about 100% of them have been integrated in our communities. They have employment, gainful employment. They have housing. Their kids are in school. They're receiving all of their benefits. And they're doing a really great job of being connected to faith communities. So we were a part of getting them adopted by churches as well and other houses of worship. And they're thriving. They're really, really thriving. And I communicate with them on the regular. I help with still a lot of the cultural sensitivity training and things like that. And so I help them get acclimated to our U.S. customs and cultures, and we help our friends here kind of get acclimated to some of their customs and cultures and help bridge that gap. So I still receive calls quite frequently, but we're doing well. We're doing a pretty good job. So, and again, we really appreciate all of the help our congregations have done to help welcome them here to the U.S. because they've just had a really, really tough time, leaving everything and most of them leaving family members behind and having to come over. So, any other questions for me? Yep, very active. So we have a 30,000 plus active Muslim community here in Tulsa, and it's very unique because any community that has 30,000 plus Muslims. Oh, the question was, how active is the Muslim community in TMM? I got you. Normally, they would have 7 or 8 mosques. We are a monopoly here at ISD in Tulsa, so they have one main mosque. They have one small mosque on TU's campus, but we have a very diverse community. So we have a couple of Shia congregations as well, very tiny Shia congregations. But luckily, I'm connected to just about everyone in our community. We have people from 75 different countries and 6 Native American tribes that are in the Muslim community here. So just as diverse as Tulsa is. And so whenever I need something, everybody's just a phone call or a text away. So, if I need something really quickly, I can make a phone call if we need a car, if we need food, if we need whatever. And it came in very handy. In fact, Jim was with me at lunch one Saturday when our new Afghan friends were arriving. And there were some people who were falling through the cracks. They had been put into housing from the apartments, but they didn't have food all weekend long. And so they were calling me. They're like, we're starving. We haven't had food since Friday afternoon, and it's now Sunday afternoon. What are we supposed to do? So it just took a couple of phone calls, as Jim saw, to some friends, and they were able to get food over within 30 minutes to an hour to them. So, yeah, they're pretty active. Yes, sir.
We're new to the class, and I'm curious about your background and your educational experience.
Sure. So I'm a born and bred Tulsa girl. I'm an Okie through and through. My parents immigrated from Germany, and my actual background, I'm Turkish in descent. Both of my parents were Turkish. And I was the first of my family to be born right here in Tulsa, Oklahoma. They immigrated here in 1975, and I was born here in 1977. I went to Francis Scott Key Elementary School for elementary. I went to Byrd for a year, then we moved over to Union, and then I graduated from Union. I went on to TCC and OU and RSU and NSU, and I have multiple degrees. I have medical molecular biology degree. I have a different degree in exercise physiology as well. And so all my background was actually in medical sciences. And so I was teaching for a number of years, and I wasn't identifiably Muslim up until 2004. So I wasn't covered, so I wasn't identified as, nobody really knew or pegged me for a Muslim. And so when I covered in 2004 and when I started having a lot of discrimination and issues, I was attacked on the street with my kids, and law enforcement wasn't very helpful when they were called out. They let the perpetrator go. And, so it was those kind of issues that started happening one after another. And I was like, you got to do something about this. And so that's when I started becoming really active in the community and started, at first volunteering. And now, I train law enforcement for the past 8 years, and law enforcement from sheriffs, FBI, on down to all of our local PDs. I do a lot of the work that we do with DV and all of those centers, the Family Justice Center. I work with, our judges and attorneys. I work with our medical community. I do a lot of translation and things like that. So even though my educational background was in medicine, God kept pulling me in this direction. And so I've been working with the UN as well with a lot of the international work that we do. And in fact, in July, I'll be going back out to Switzerland to another UN conference to present on some of the work that we're doing here in Tulsa. So that's kind of a hodgepodge, but yes, that's my background. Yes, ma'am. Who handles our public? We need to hire a public. Would you like to handle it, Linda? Linda's asking who handles our public relations. I really need a public relations person, but most of the time it's me. So when the media calls, when anything happens, most of the time it's me. Yes, I wear multiple scarves. Right, that's what it is. I wear multiple scarves.
When the Afghan people came,
Of course. Yeah, we started.
All we see on the newspaper is the Catholics.
Yeah, well, let me explain. Let me explain. So, our Catholic community for the past 50 years has been the only resettlement agency in Tulsa or in the state of Oklahoma. They have the national contract through the Department of State, right? This past year, the Jewish community, the synagogue, through HIAS, was able to receive the second contract to be able to be a resettlement agency. You have to jump through multiple hoops to be a resettlement agency, to receive refugees. Normal refugee resettlement process is about 30 to 90 days. They have 3 months to get acclimated, to get connected to services, and then they're set off to be free, right? And so our Catholic community and our Jewish community are the two resettlement agencies for the state of Oklahoma and in Tulsa. In Oklahoma City, we only have just the Catholic charities still. They don't have a second community that is resettling, okay? So they are the hub. That's where they come to. But, of course, they require a lot of help. So TMM started this process even before the first Afghan friend stepped foot here. So we started with the State Department back in August. They started arriving in September. We started helping the State Department back in August to help resettle some of the SIVs and get them located to other cities that they had connections to. So we did a lot of the training. And then YWCA is the other agency, the second agency that takes over. After the first 3 months is over, they take over from month 3 to 5 years out. They help with employment. They help with all of that. And again, it's a lot of heavy lifting that the YWCA has to do. And so, again, our agencies have stepped in and helped them tremendously to be able to do all this work. Catholic Charities took in the first 850, and the rest of them came in through the synagogue. And so we are still in connection with both of them, and we're still helping them help readjust and resettle all of our new friends. So. And I know I got the 2-minute sign. So I want to thank you all so very much. If you all ever have any questions, please, you're more than welcome to reach out to Jim or Buzz, and they can give you my contact information, or I can give you my contact information. I would love to help you however I can. Thank you so very much for being here, and thank you so much for blessing Tulsa.